Very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining on this special program brought to you by Shelter Incorporated. And today we're having a very interesting discussion, where we're joined by Mr. Lawrence Arimaya, who is from Oasis Real Estate, and also will be expanding on the whole host of advances that are taking place within the real estate sector. We always do appreciate hearing from you, so please ensure that you do send us your questions and your comments during the course of the program. Mr. Arimaya, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gwazi, for inviting me.
Yes. Yes.
And thanks to Shelter Zimbabwe, your team, and Etosha Gardens for the work that you're doing.
Most definitely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now, I would love to hear a bit more about some of the work that you're also up to. Appreciating that navigating the post-pandemic real estate market, right? Some of the opportunities and challenges that came up. Maybe you can give us an appreciation of what that particular period of 2020 leading up into, of course, 2023, 2024, the effects it had on the market, but at the same time, the ups and the downs.
Okay, great. Surprisingly, Zimbabwe is a very interesting market. Of course, 2020, when the COVID-19 came, there was a pushback. Things slowed down. Most of the projects that had started around 2019, 2018, they slowed down, and things then started picking up after around 2022, 2023. But I'm sure if you move around across the country, you see there seems to be like a boom. And that has been picking up to sometime mid last year, 2024. And things have sort of like taken a little bit of a dip. And we are hopeful that 2025 will probably have a different direction. Things will take a different turn. I think obviously the other thing that has happened it's also to do with the economic headwinds. So you notice in as much as the number of the supply has been increasing, at a very fast rate. I think for long-term investors that are looking really in the long run, I think this is the time to get in the market. But if people are looking at short gap measures, I think they might find it a bit tough. But right now, I think generally the liquidity crunch has sort of affected some of the players, because I think you'll find that most banks right now are not lending. The few that are lending, they've sort of like taken a back position. You find tenures that are ranging from 3 years. The most that I've had right now is about 5 years. Interest rates for those that are lending mortgage financing, you're looking at 12 to 18%. I was just checking yesterday, but most of the banks actually right now, they are not lending. Right. So you find, I think the other thing that has also caused most banks to not to extend financing is to do with the uncertainty that has to do with the promulgation that was made that the US dollar currency will get up to 2030s. So there is uncertainty as to what's then going to happen after 2030 or closer to 2030, because government has been blowing hot and cold at the same time, also saying they might actually close off, bring back the ZIG midways. Right. So people they don't know what position to take, especially the banks. I think they've also been hit. I think last year, I think after the ZIG was introduced, after the SADC, which probably also because the government is the biggest spender anyway. Mm-hmm. So if you find government is also not spending, it's also a bit of a challenge.
Right, I do want to come in there with regards to volatility. Real estate has always been referred to as the proverbial mainstay of ensuring that you can put an investment and expect it to at least be as low risk as possible. Maybe you can just briefly give us an appreciation of how the current climate, the current economic climate is as volatile as it is, both globally, globally and locally, and how that there has caused a bit of of uncertainty within the real estate space, as you've pointed out?
Okay, I think the case for Zimbabwe is a bit unique as well, from the standpoint that we are generally short of patient capital. So you find most of the capital that is circulating, it's local money, perhaps, but we don't really have the foreign direct investment. And Zimbabwe generally is perceived to be a high risky investment destination. That's why you also find our interest rates over 12%. It's a bit high compared to what you find perhaps in other countries. In as much as, yes, even the most of the global players or those countries that are leading, the interest rates have risen to, and I've been checking, for example, in the UK, you're looking at interest rates ranging from 7 to 10%. So yes, real estate is really a hedge against inflation. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. But I think the challenge that is happening right now is the working capital, or the capital to keep on injecting so that the projects will keep on running. Zimbabwe is also perceived generally to be expensive. I think you probably have heard most Zimbabweans complaining that perhaps comparing what happens in this country to what happens maybe to our neighboring country, which is South Africa. But there are a number of factors that also cause us to be in that position. We are importing most of our products that we use in construction, except maybe for things like bricks, cement. But already, I'm sure you have heard sometime this year, there were challenges to do with one of the operators' big plants. So those push cost push factors that cause our prices to be a bit higher. But I think if you look at it from a land values point of view, I think Zimbabwean prices are still much lower than most countries in the region. If you are to look at it really in terms of property values, it's the built up product. And also the other thing that has happened over the years, because things, like I said, started moving, we started having a bit of more new products coming on the market in the past 5 years, 6 years. So most of the products that you find in the market is actually very old properties that were built in the 90s, in the 80s, and most of them, the ones that you probably find in the north, or even, in most of the old suburbs, these are properties that were built before independence. So most of them, they have also gone past by their normal lifespan. So they are now due for change.
Right. Talking about change.
Yeah.
We also appreciate that remote work on urban versus a suburban real estate is also a topical matter. Maybe you could just expand a bit more on that and give us appreciation of the two differences.
Oh yeah. Basically, you find because in the urban areas, that's where most people live. That's where jobs are found. So the urban areas, you find that, and in Zimbabwe, if you look at it really, most activity happens in Harare. Property prices for Harare compared perhaps to Bulawayo, probably 3 times more than the property prices for Bulawayo. And then you have Bulawayo, and then you have what other cities, like other towns and cities, but there's not much activity that happens in those towns, because also if you look at it from an economic point of view, there's not much in terms of job creation and so forth. So those are the things that push and that cause activity to happen in real estate. Then you find you're talking about suburban.
Suburban, yeah.
Suburban, you're probably then looking at I suppose you're looking at areas that are surrounding or that are close to the urban areas, and the rural, because I think in this country you're either talking about urban or rural.
Yeah.
And for the case of Zimbabwe, very interesting one, because
we don't have a catchment of suburban coming up.
The suburban is coming up,
right?
More as a result of the fact that the cities like Harare, they no longer have land. You can't continue to expand. So once you can find the Harare is generally surrounded by a rural district council. Like if you go this direction, you are surrounded by the Seke. You go the other direction,
Goromonzi, yeah.
You've got Goromonzi Road District Council. You've got your Zimba Road District Council. So basically, Harare is surrounded by Mazowe Road District Council. If you go to Mount Pleasant, Mount Pleasant Heights, it's already under Mazowe Road District Council. So because there's been a lot of pressure on Harare, people are now building in those areas, and the rural authorities like the Mazowe Road District Council, Zimba Road District Council, they've seen an opportunity, and they are now, the rural land is now urban land. But I think the biggest challenge that is there is to do with infrastructure.
Sure.
Water mainly.
Amenities, yeah.
Water, because if you look at the case of Harare, already Harare City Council is failing to supply enough water for properties that are in Harare, and we don't have new dams. The only supply right now that we have, you can find, is Lake Chiwero, which is supplying both it supplies Norton, it supplies Harare, it supplies Chitungwiso. So there's too much pressure because they can't contain, and coupled with a number of other challenges that they already have. So coming back to your question to do with the nexus between urban and suburban, the challenge that is happening with the suburban, that we are saying the rural district councils that are surrounding, is that most of the developments that are happening in those areas, they are informal developments, and especially if you go the Domboshawa route, where you have Goromonzi. If you go the Seke route, where you find Seke rural is now encroaching into Chitungwiso, which is already a local authority on its own. So the challenge is that it's putting a lot of pressure on the urban authorities that are supposed to provide water, supposed to ensure that they treat sewer, the roads and so forth. Because all these people, the unfortunate thing is that there's no economic activity. So all these people, they drive into Harare every day. If you check, I haven't really read the current census report for 2020, but if you check the one which was done for 2022, the one which was done in 2012, they were saying Harare has got, at that time in 2012, they were saying Harare has got a daytime population of 3.2 million, if I'm not mistaken, and a nighttime population of about 2.something million, so of 1.5 million. So you find twice the population that you find in Harare. You find they are here during the day, perhaps up to about 10, 12.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rimaya, for your insights, and we definitely do look forward to speaking to you again in future.
Thank you so much.
We're just joined by Mr. Lawrence Rimaya from Oasis Real Estate, highlighting, of course, some of the progressive steps that are being taken ever since the COVID-19 pandemic within the real estate sector. Always appreciate hearing from you. Send us your questions, comments, and your contributions. That's it for now. Pleasant viewing.